Nate Diaz, Jake Paul, press conference number 1 just ended. What do you guys think? Did you watch it? I was entertained by it. I thought that the crowd was good. I like the Q&A. I like the back and forth. I could hear passion. I can hear energy, right? It's not necessarily what questions you're being answered, what topics are going back and forth on. It's the passion within the question that creates the energy that they're then going back and forth on. I thought it was good. My understanding is there's going to be 4 of these, this being number 1. So we've still got 3 left. Leading into the boxing match. And I'm wondering from you guys what you thought. Are you looking forward to it? I believe that this is a record. 4. I believe that's a record. I can think of fights where they've done 4 press conferences, but I couldn't name for you a non-title fight where they did 4 press conferences. Something that wasn't massive in some degree that had something on it. Somebody's has to go, some kind of a record. And what I assumed that these 2 were going to dangle in front of us was the MMA fight. I still believe that that's coming. Though that wasn't revealed today or put as the cherry on the sundae, and here's the big thing, and here's the real stakes, and here's why we're doing this. I do believe somewhere within the next 3 press conferences and prior to the fight, the reveal will be made. That if so-and-so wins, or if so-and-so gets a knockout, a finish of some kind, that they're then going to go and do MMA. But I don't know that they would have the power to do it. That's one of the problems. I know there was a built-in mechanism when Jake initially called Nate Diaz out. And when he initially did that, it was going to be a boxing match and an MMA fight. It was at $20 million and blah, blah, blah. We're going to do it all, but we're going to start with boxing. All of a sudden, we've started with boxing, which has left many of us to believe they then are going to go into MMA. I'm just sharing for you, that is not the deal. That was never a deal. That was a proposed idea that was thrown out at some point, and some of your brains had made the mistake of believing that those are still tied together. I'm just clearing that up for you. Because the other part of that, in case you have forgotten, when Jake Paul came out and said, we're going to do both, but we're going to box first, the MMA part was going to be a pay-per-view in PFL. And anytime Nate Diaz opened his mouth today about MMA, it was UFC. He's coming back. He's returning to the UFC. And quite frankly, even if Jake Paul was looking for an invite, Nate never gave him one. Nate never said, we're going to go and do this and I will bring you over to the UFC. You beat me here. I've already talked to Dana. We'll rematch it and we'll do it over there. Like, there was no talk about that. In fact, I found it to be one of the very interesting points, because one thing that Jake Paul does do is throw around the idea that he's got more money, or throw around the idea that he has more opportunities, or throw around the idea that he can create and or give an opportunity. I like it. It's part of his shtick, but I also like that part of his shtick because it's been true up until today. Up until today, when Nate went out of his way to trump him with 3 little letters, UFC, but never once included him. Never invited him and never said, I'll see you there. It was very subtle. It was easily the smallest part of the press conference, but each time that they talked about actually fighting MMA under the unified rules, Nate never mentioned it's going to be you and I. Nate mentioned, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to showcase this set of skills that I have, I'm going to sharpen them up, then I am going to go to the UFC. Not we, not I'm going to take you. And it was meant as a dig. But I think you guys missed it. That's why I'm bringing that to your attention. And if you falsely somewhere believe an announcement was made that Jake and Nate are going to box first and then go do MMA, if you falsely believe that, that's not the deal. That was never the deal. That doesn't mean that's not what this could turn into. But that's not what's been agreed to. And if Nate goes out and showcases his skills, as he says, and takes care of Paul, the conversation of that MMA fight ever following these 2 will be crushed right there. If the outcome and the verdict tends to lean towards Paul, perhaps the idea of MMA gets reignited.